If you couldn't tell from my last video, not the goofy Zen one, that was for a competition I entered, the toast one, I do enjoy finding beauty in the mundane. The subject of today's video falls into a similar category, but in my opinion it shouldn't. Flowers. Flowers. They are everywhere, like Garfield. They're so ubiquitous that saying stop and smell the roses holds the normal interpretation of stop what you're doing and notice the beauty in the world around you. It's there in every moment, waiting to be observed. Flowers. They're free, like the ducks in the park. You can just take them whenever you want to. I have picked hundreds of flowers. They really are just about everywhere if you look. They can also be expensive if you want to go with a curation from someone who understands colors and how bouquets work. It's the second option that I would like to draw special attention to. I got this idea from a video I saw recently. It was one of those edits that just had the words, "Life is beautiful," and showed a bunch of feel-good scenes like children opening up presents and puppies just being puppies. I like these. I usually watch them at work when I need a pick-me-up, but one of the clips in this one gave me a real reaction. It was presumably this old man's birthday, and he was snuck up on and handed a bouquet of flowers. He started crying and said, "No one has ever given me flowers before." The edit quickly jumped to the next pretty vignette, but I paused. I felt a pit in my chest. I felt my face get hot, and the tears start flowing down my face, and I felt for this old man. No one has ever given me flowers before. That man was presumably mid-50s at the oldest. Let's go with 55. 55 years on this earth, surrounded by flowers, and no one had ever thought to give him some. No one had ever thought that he might want them, and that it would mean the world to him. I thought of how I would react if I were handed flowers like that, and the tears sped up. I had to get back to work, but I knew this idea would stick with me, that it was important to me. I just didn't yet know why. The normal thought that comes to mind is of a man buying flowers for the woman he loves or is possibly trying to win over. Women seem to like flowers, and men like making women happy. This is commonplace, but is it the end of the flower exchanging ritual? Most men don't receive their first flowers until their funeral. I've seen a lot of other videos of people handing out flowers to men with this phrase written on the flower. The defensive men let their guard down long enough to accept the flower. To me, there's something very sad about this exchange. The men fight the giver of the flower, thinking it's some sort of romantic advance or a joke at their expense. Maybe they want to sell me something. Those are the first thoughts of a man gifted a flower by a stranger. Why on earth would anyone hand me a flower? Maybe it's because it's a stranger doing the handing away. There's a lot left in the gray when accepting gifts from strangers. A lesson I'm sure we all had to learn when we went home with that friend of the family and we stayed with them for a few weeks that we don't really remember very well. What would it look like if someone you cared about gave you flowers? And remember, I'm not talking about a single flower picked on a whim during a walk. While beautiful in its own right, this has a little less forethought than the act of going out and purchasing flowers. I'm guilty of formerly holding the opinion that a lot of other men have about buying flowers. It just seems like a waste of money when I could get you something else. They're just gonna die in a week or so after all, and that gesture just becomes a chore to be cleaned up later, and one that often leaves an empty vase as a reminder that the effort is gone. I'd much rather get you something you can keep or take you out to eat. It's more pragmatic to think that experiences and items will outlive the usefulness of the flowers, and as such, you get more bang for your buck. It might be my male brain, but for most of my life, getting flowers just didn't make sense. I knew it made sense to other people, but that was their problem. They were the weird ones for liking it so much. I was just being logical, and Bruno Mars's "I should have bought you flowers" wasn't all that great. I'm being a hipster, It's a good enough song, but it never got me to think about the flowers. There was obviously a lot going on in that song, and the song is pretty clear that the flowers were just the tip of the iceberg. Mars is sort of bargaining that if he had just gotten flowers, everything would have been patched up, but then he spends the rest of the song talking about all the other ways he was being distant. I digress. I have a different flower song in mind. My flower song is called Choking on Flowers by Fox Academy. I'm rarely able to get my friends to enjoy the same music that I do, but I always like to hear what they think. I had this one described as dreamlike and floaty, like the whole thing is a memory. I start with their description of the song because you know I'm going to get weird with it. Weirdly enough, not a single flower is mentioned in the song. Maybe hinted at in the beginning where the singer mentions decorations that they found, but the word flower does not show up once. So why was it called Choking on Flowers? Never mind what that image brings up in my head. Well, I believe the lyrics in the song suggest a story that I'd like to tell for you, but please, go ahead and take a listen to the song first. The tone of the song is set from the beginning. It sort of sounds like a chorus of ghosts trying to harmonize over a record player. But Cody, that sounds really pleasant and peaceful and sweet. Well, it would be if it were not for the very first line. Inside your house, we've got a lot to talk about. Decorations that we found. Instead, we look around. To me, it suggests a tough conversation needs to be had, the kind that determines the future, or lack thereof, of a very long relationship. In an attempt to delay the inevitable, they look around, afraid to make eye contact. The scene painted shifts to memories of a past with less tough conversations. Inside your house, your mom puts on her favorite blouse. We pass the dishes all around. I hope they like me now. I hope they like me now. You remind me of better times. Obviously implying the times they're in now are much worse. This person either lives in denial or is trying to take one last sip of a precious memory before it becomes poisoned with the pain of heartbreak. Instead of having the tough conversation, the singer turns his gaze inward and relives the same old memories of better times, which have become so played out that they prevent any newer memories from being formed. These memories are the flowers, and the singer is choking on them. I chose this song because it mirrors my own feelings on flowers. They are a memory, or at least they spend more time in our heads than they do on the table. I would do well not to choke myself on them. The good memories are a treat, but they shouldn't be run on repeat. That's what the purchase is. It's a good memory for someone. They thought of you. They picked from dozens of other lineups the set of flowers that reminded them most of you. Then they spent their hard-earned money on it, all to see you smile. Your smile becomes a memory, a flower in their head, and you can keep the physical ones. No one has ever given me flowers before, said the 55-year-old man. I don't know his story. He seemed nice enough through the 10-second fraction of his life I observed. Why hadn't he ever received flowers before? Why hadn't I? Maybe I had made it clear long ago to anyone who would ever even consider getting me any kind of present that flowers were a stupid gift and women were silly for liking them so much. Maybe that's why. Maybe I set myself up to never get that sort of surprise, all because I valued some twisted sense of logic or some misplaced sense of masculinity over beauty. I do like flowers. I like staring at them. I like how they smell. My favorite flowers are lilies. They remind me of Luke 12:27. Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you, Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. I don't want to turn this into a video about how undervalued or underappreciated men as a whole feel. That chasm runs deep, and I'm just not the person to unpack that here. If you want to give women flowers, please do so. I just get the sense that most women will receive flowers at some point in their lives. I can only speak as a man, and I'll say it's a very common sentiment that men remember every compliment that they're ever given. The words alone create a memory that men will grasp onto for the rest of their lives. Words. Just words. Imagine what a gesture, a flower, a bouquet would do. I'm certain they would never forget it. Actually, don't imagine it. Get out there and give someone you care about flowers. Find out what happens. Like the plentiful flowers around us, beautiful experiences can be found and made with a little gesture. It's worth the effort, I promise. But if you don't believe me, let me make one final plea of you. Flowers are not beauty itself, but they contain a fraction of our understanding of beauty. Flowers require attention and care to be pollinated. From there, they yield the fruit that can be enjoyed by many. Every phase of a flower cycle is steeped in beauty, from the tiny seed that bursts through the mud to the resplendent cloak of colors that form their fragile mane of petals. The beauty of the petals attracts the pollinator to allow the flower to produce seeds and start the cycle over again. The withered flower falls to the mud to degrade and fertilize the next generation. A delicate struggle that is destined to repeat again and again, like the rise and fall of the tides or the breath in the lungs. The flowers are a slice of the unending cycle, and to pick one is to pull it prematurely from its destined degradation, and to preserve it for just a moment longer that we may gaze at it and carry its beauty even further into the future through our memories, filling our minds with something a little more spiritually nourishing. Distilled grace. But this only contextualizes the flower itself. What of the memory of the giving of the flower? What of the face of someone you care about excited to hand them over? What of your face getting hot and your heart beating faster as you realize this gesture is all for you? The aesthetics of the flower just become a backdrop for the scene itself as your brain begins painting this moment forever into your soul. A memory of love with flowers to draw contrast to the love itself, not as a lack of love, but as mere fruits of love. The gem at the center of the lotus, the love in the gesture, is yours. Crystallizing this flower is a memory you can pluck again whenever your heart desires. It's too late to buy me flowers. I'm not going anywhere, but like a scientist dissecting a frog to find out what makes it tick, I feel like I've plucked the conceptual petals off of the flower in a game of she loves me not with no real answer. I had to kill this thing to learn how it works. That is to say, I would have loved to receive flowers before I made this video, and I still would be more than grateful if I did receive them now. But now that I've made the video, the imprint of it will echo on to my perceived intent in anyone who would decide to give me flowers. I'm thinking of Cody and would love to show him that, and a beautiful gesture turns into, Cody would love these. I know so because he said so in his video. I can't put that genie back into the bottle. I can do you a favor, though. There is someone who would be over the moon to receive their first flowers. You may have even been thinking about someone this whole time. Stop thinking. Just go give them that little slice of infinity that they can treasure till their dying days. Give someone their first flowers and cherish the fruits that will bloom from their hearts. You may be the first person to ever try to do so. You made it to the end again. I really appreciate that. I was never able to track down the original clip that started this whole thought process, but I found a reasonable replacement that at least sort of portrays what I was thinking at the time. I had a lot of help in this video, so if you could please go give Madcap Mags a follow on Instagram. She is an up-and-coming photographer who is the best at what she does, I'm sure. I really appreciate you sticking around, and I do plan on making more videos the next time something really catches my attention. But thanks again. Like, comment, and subscribe.
This isn't fun, this part.
Let me steady myself. Okay.
Oh.